So I promised that I would introduce all the guest speakers. This is Lesa.
And I'm not a guest, and she doesn't have my bio.
I said, nobody gave me a bio, so most of you know our wonderful, fabulous Lesa Walker. I have heard her a number of times and come away blessed each time she delivers a message to us. So we are so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Ann.
It's all yours, dear.
Thank you, Ann. Yeah, if you wanted my bio, I'm a semi-retired nurse practitioner, and I'm a licensed Unity teacher here at Unity of Dallas, where I've been attending since 1997 and looking up to people like Ann and Deb and all these people as my mentors. And now I'm in a position to kind of combine my passion for healing and healing the world. And we're going to talk about how we do that a little bit, but wasn't it a fabulous week? Now, I am not one of the Ruiz brothers. They were here last week, and they were amazing. And I am a little different than them, and I'm even going to have notes today because it's been one of those kind of weeks. We had that wonderful eclipse on Monday. I got to go out to Rockwall and spend the day with my daughter who was about to have a baby. It was our last day to just be together as a mom and a daughter without... Oh, well, she has one already, but she wasn't home that day. And we've had a lot, there's just a lot going on this week, right? We started the book studies, and we're studying one of the Ruiz brothers' books, The Mastery of Self. And you guys, we had 70 people sign up for the book studies, and that's about half of us that are here on a regular basis. So we're really excited about that because when we get together like that and we study and we go deeper with the material, it gives us the opportunity to grow our consciousness individually and for our congregation. And we reach these things called tipping points when we have a certain number of people. It's how we change the current of things. And what does it take to change the current? It takes enough people changing their consciousness. And I put this picture of a lazy river up here because I tried something new this week. I'm entering into maybe not quite what Gary Thornberry calls elderland, but I'm getting to that age where I get to maybe start entering into my phase of maybe being a wise woman. And part of the wisdom is not to pound my joints anymore. The chiropractors, the orthopedic doctors, they all told me I should go walk in water. So I went to a lazy river to walk in the water, and you have this current, and it's kind of pushing everybody. Really, you could just float through the lazy river, and I thought, well, how lazy is that, to just be walking with the current? So I asked the little lifeguard, is it okay if I go the other direction? And she's like, sure. So I turned around, and I tried to go the other direction. I couldn't move. That current was so strong. I thought, wait, I'm young, I'm strong. I should be able to walk against the current. I couldn't do it. I joined a class called River Aerobics, so now I'm doing aerobics in the river. And it's a group of people, I'm not really sure how many, it looks like maybe 15 people in the river. And one lady told me, I was worried because I heard that we were going to have to walk against the river, and I can't do that. And she said, oh, it'll be fine. Once we all start walking that direction, it kind of changes the current. And sure enough, as soon as about half the class was going opposing to the current, it got easier to do that. It got so much easier to do that. And I thought, this is going in a talk somewhere soon near you. Because it's such an example of how when we are together, when we're working together, we can really create change. We can create change in ourselves, and we can create change in the world when we're working together. And why do we even want to bother with raising our consciousness? Why do we want to become the best Christ selves that we can be? I'll show you why. One of the events that happened to me this week, in my busy week, was the birth of this little guy, Lincoln LaRusi. He's my newest grandbaby. And he was born Thursday night. So it's been a really busy week. I was in charge of organizing all the book studies. I had to attend 2 of them. I got to attend 2 of them. And the wisdom in those groups is amazing. How many people here are doing a group? Just put your hands up. It's fun, right? And you get wisdom from all the different people. We don't have teachers leading the groups. We have facilitators, and you guys are the teachers teaching each other. But we're doing it for these guys, for these babies that are coming in. This one's less than 3 days old. And we're becoming the best that we can be so that we can leave a better world for these guys. And that we can bring them up, hopefully, without some of those subconscious agreements that we were talking about during the book studies this week. So we're changing the current. So life's agreements are numerous. It's how we navigate the world as social creatures. I have a blank slide, which I put in there to calm me down. We have a lot of agreements that we make, right? We're social creatures. We've all got what they're calling the dream, our dream of the planet, and our dreams collide with one another, and we have to have agreements in order to create relationships and to be functional in this world. So we have some agreements that have become so universal that almost all countries have them enshrined in laws, like don't kill other people, of course, until we want to go to war, and then that's another story that I won't go into. But don't kill. That's kind of a universal agreement, social agreement that's been legalized in most countries. We have don't steal, don't sleep with your best friend's spouse. We enter into relationships. We have marriage. We have work contracts that we work from. We have church committees. We have boards. So some of our agreements are codified into law. Some of them are less formal. You know, like being a good neighbor. I don't know if there's a formal definition for being a good neighbor, but Rudy and I recently moved, and I think we're considered good neighbors so far. We pick up our trash, and we speak to our neighbors, and we've met them, and you know, we're out there trying to be a good neighbor. It's not a formalized relationship. We have legal, civic, social, religious agreements. We do these agreements to help us fit in. We have agreements within ourselves, and those sometimes are kind of hidden agreements. Those are part of our shadow self. Those are part of what the book is talking about as domestication. It's what's been kind of fed into us, you know. Oh, she's the cute one, she's the smart one, she's the funny one, he's the one that makes friends easily. All these things that we heard as children that get kind of embedded into us, right? Those are things that we've agreed to be. So I know a class clown out there who agreed to be a class clown, and still pretty funny these days. So they become part of our belief system, or we could call it our BS, because our belief systems can be BS, the ones that are hidden underneath that we don't stay aware of. One of the classes I'm taking right now is I'm redoing the quantum living class, not with Al. I hear you're going to be teaching that soon to our congregation, which is going to be great, because there we do what we call awareapy, and we become aware of those things that are hidden, those shadow parts of us or those agreements we've made to conform to certain things that maybe aren't reflective of our authentic self, maybe aren't even reflective of our true divine nature, but we've adopted them to help us fit in. We have agreements that can be hierarchical, like having a church board and electing them, which we're going to do next month. And then they're going to elect officers, and all of those people sign up and they agree to do certain jobs. And some of these agreements are going to be written out in things called bylaws, which, by the way, if you want to be involved in the changing of the bylaws, there will be a meeting after church today for that, if you want to have some input. Some of those will be enshrined in the bylaws, and then some of those agreements are just, you know, my idea of what the president of the board does, my idea of what the secretary of the board does. And so sometimes people can run into this stuff called friction, because the agreements, the assumptions that we make don't match up maybe. So there's a little bit of that can happen in our lives. How many of y'all have tried this agreement called marriage? Yeah, about 70%, 60, 70% of Americans these days try marriage at least once. around 40% of them don't work out because we come into that situation with the agreements that we may not be aware of. We've got some unconscious things going on that we may not be aware of when we come into those partnerships. So some of our self-agreements are things, a lot of times they sound like, if such and such happens, I will do such and such, or I will have. So if I'm able to buy that Mercedes car, I will have proved I'm successful. If I get that certain job, I will have proved I'm smart. If I make X amount of money, then I will be rich. Or they might be when, because we're more positive thinkers here in Unity, so we know we're going to make that money. So when I make all that money, then I'll give some to the church. We wait for that then to happen. Or when I get married, then I'll be happy. And that's how we fall into this traps of, okay, say that marriage happens. I'm going to be happy, right? I'm going to be happy. I'm going to promise to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. I don't think Rudy and I said those vows, but we said something that would probably be the equivalent of that, to support each other, to love each other, to get through the bad times together. And those are the outward agreements that we made. But we come to that situation with ideas about what marriage is supposed to be. And then we might find ourselves reaching a point where we say, wait a minute, I'm not sure I signed up for this. I'm not sure this is what I agreed to. I'm not sure I agreed to cook your dinner every night. I'm not sure I agreed to be the only one cleaning the house. Or he might be saying, well, wait, I'm not sure I agreed to support you financially. You had a great job when I met you. So all these things can start popping up, right? Because we have these certain ideas about what a marriage should be. We do the same thing with our friendships. We have certain ideas of what a friendship should be. She should have called me on my birthday. She's not being a good friend. Or raising kids, we can have some ideas about that. The kids don't get much choice in it until they're older. Church boards, ministers, the committees that we form, all of that comes with some agreements that are unspoken a lot of times, almost more like assumptions, right? So the mastery of self is about, if you guys aren't in a book club, I still hope you'll read the book. It's a great book. And it's about uncovering some of those embedded beliefs, some of that conditioning that we have, the things that we've agreed to without realizing we agreed to it, that forms who we act out as. It's about digging deep and doing some of that awareness, and we're doing it without judgment, and we're doing it with self-compassion and compassion for one another. Jesus said we should love our neighbors as ourselves, and I think he might have put that in there because he knew that human beings aren't too good at loving themselves. And we have to learn to love ourselves so that we can really be giving true and honest love to other people. And why are we doing it? To heal the world. So some of the Toltec wisdom that all the Ruiz brothers and the father and everybody, the Ruiz family, is built on. It's ancient Toltec wisdom. And the basis for a lot of it is the Four Agreements. And I'm sure a lot of you have read the Four Agreements. And we thought about doing it as our book study, but we decided that we'd probably get a lot of, oh, I already read that. But are we practicing it? Are we really putting it into play in our daily lives? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I know some of you are experts. I got Rotha sitting there, and she was in one of my book groups this week, and she has the Four Agreements posted by her phone, along with a mirror, which I really love the mirror idea, Rotha, so that whenever she's conducting business, she's aware of these Four Agreements that she's made and that she wants to live by to help her engage with her customers. And I think the mirror serves a purpose. It serves a purpose on, for me, a lot of levels. It serves a purpose to remind me to smile and to treat someone with love. But also, you know, these people that we're dealing with on a daily basis, they are our mirrors. They are our mirrors. So we're going to talk a little bit about these agreements. Because I know there are some people that showed up at the book studies who they came to hear the speakers, but they've never actually read the 4 agreements. There were several people like that. We've got some new people who are new in the whole kind of the whole unity movement and all the new thought, and so they haven't read these agreements. So number 1 is impeccable. Be impeccable with your word. So this fits really well with our unity teachings, right? Because our word is our creative power. Our creative process is that there's one big divine mind that all the ideas come from, and then we speak the word and we create with our words. When Charles Fillmore, I don't know if you guys know that the 12 powers are assigned energy centers in our bodies. This is the power. This is where the power of power resides, because he assigned the power here because that's how we put our ideas out into the world, with our voice, with our throat, with opening that throat chakra. That's the power. We can create with that. We create heaven or we create hell. We can choose to raise somebody up or we can choose to destroy somebody. We can choose to ensnare somebody or we can choose to free somebody. We can wound somebody with our words or we can heal somebody with our words. Our words need to be impeccable. The word impeccable comes from the Latin meaning without sin. And in unity, how do we define sin? It's missing the mark. It's missing the mark. It's creating error thoughts. So our words are intended to be without that aspect of missing the mark. We want our words to land the way that we intend them to. And we don't have the power over that. We're going to talk about that in some of the other agreements. We don't have the power to be sure that our words are going to land the way we want them to. But if we form them carefully and we form them clearly and we stop and we think before we say them, they will have a much better chance of having the impact that we hope they will have. There's also the aspect of not using our words against each other, because that's considered missing the mark. That's error thinking. And we don't want to use our words against ourselves. And I hear that so much. I hear that so much. I'm fat. I'm too old. I'm not good enough. We don't want to use those kind of words against ourselves. So some of the practical tips for using this is, I'm going to hit a big one here, avoid gossip. Avoid gossip. If you have an opinion about something or someone, and you're giving it to someone who is not that person you have the opinion about, you are probably gossiping. And it happens a lot, and it happens a lot even here. So we need to be aware of not gossiping, because Ruiz calls it poison. He calls it poison. When we gossip about somebody, we're just adding poison to the world. We're not adding healing to the world. We're adding poison. So avoiding gossip. If you're working in a group, another place that I use the 4 agreements is in a practice that I do called NIA. And I'm a brown belt NIA practitioner, which means I've gone through 3 levels of training with them, and a basis for our training is the 4 agreements. We use these in every training as we work in groups. And so as we work in groups, one of the things is to stay on topic. Don't go off and tell 500 very vaguely related stories. Your group's going to be there all night. Stay on topic. Speak only your own truth, because you don't really know somebody else's truth. I don't know, I think I might know what's in Rudy's mind, but I don't really know what's in Rudy's mind. I can't speak for Rudy. I can only speak for myself. And use an I form of speaking. Don't assume that we always do da-da-da-da-da, but I see it this way. And get used to just claiming something for yourself, your own truth for yourself, and speak that out into the world and into the groups that you're working with. You might want to try this idea of playing with words. So when I was thinking about this, I was driving my car, and I was thinking about this. So you know how it is driving your car, right? In Dallas, it can be a little frustrating. And I have a word that I use a lot, and it isn't a very nice word. I picked it up from a Canadian back when, in the early days of my nursing, and I fought using this word all the time, but it became like a punctuation mark. I use it quite a bit, and I definitely use it when I get, cut off in traffic or something like that. So I was thinking maybe I should work on giving up that word. I'm going to be talking about this advice on Sunday. I should probably work on giving up this word. And within 2 minutes, somebody cut me off and out came the word. So we have these habits. We have word habits that we do. And some of them aren't healthy. So maybe just sit down and journal, think about the words that you tend to use a lot. When we're in our NIA trainings, especially once we get to communication and relationship training, we give up the word try, following the advice of one wise Yoda. There is no try, there is only do. We give up that word try, because try doesn't lead us to achieve any of our goals. It's an excuse maker. We give up the word because usually, like there it is right there. Usually when we're using the word because, we're going to go off into some tangential thing that might not be very clear and to the point. And we give up the word hard because it's another victim word. It's another way of, oh, that's just so hard. I try, but it's so hard because I have all this stuff ingrained in me. See, I can use them all, and they're very habitual. But the idea behind it is to slow our speech down so that we're really thinking, oh, there's that word, I can't use that word. What could I say instead that would be more clear? So these are just some games you could play with for learning to be impeccable with your word. If you're having challenges, mindfulness is the key. So mindfulness is the key. Slowing down, thinking what you're going to say. And if you guys have been with me in groups, I'm the worst blurter outer there is. So I'm talking to me right now. Slowing down, thinking about what you're going to say, and make it clear so that it can land with the impact that you really would like it to have. Okay, the next one is do not take anything personally. Now that's a hard one because we're really conditioned, right? The opinions other people have of us is what we grew up with, and we get our feelings hurt really easily as human beings. It's just part of our nature. But a lot of that has to do with not really knowing ourselves. And in Unity, I'm going to just say this, we don't know and claim our divine nature. We're created in the likeness and image of God. We have everything that God has within us. So we don't need to take personally what anybody else says about us. And that can work in good things and bad things, If you are not smiling at me in the morning, I might get my feelings hurt. But maybe that person's just not, or maybe you're not a morning person. That's me. I'm not a morning person. I don't walk into work and, oh, hi, everybody. I hope you had a good night. You would probably be offended and take it personally that I just get straight to work and start doing the job. I'm not a morning person. So don't take it personally. And on the other side, hopefully, we'll also be learning to be more of who we really are and be clear. Avoid being the victim. Avoid self-pity. We tend to spend a lot of time feeling sorry for ourselves because this happened to us and that happened to us. But here in Unity, it's all about personal responsibility. I create my situation. I create how I respond to my situation. If you can't wrap your mind around taking total responsibility for your situation, then wrap your mind around taking responsibility for how you respond to the situation. So we aren't victims here sitting in this room. So we aren't going to sit around in self-pity and take things personally. And one way to not do this is to ask for clarification. So in those trainings that I go to, I get my feelings hurt when the busy trainer doesn't want to answer my question between sessions. And it's because she's focused on what she's doing. And maybe I could ask, is this a good time? And she would say, no, it's not a good time. But instead, I try to ask her a question. She's like, is it really important? and I get my feelings hurt. So I don't need to get my feelings hurt about that. I need to ask for clarification. I need to get to know what's in the other person's mind rather than doing this other thing called making assumptions. So the third of the 4 agreements is don't make assumptions. So don't make up stories about other people, because like I've already said, we don't know what's in their mind. Well, it's okay. It is do not make assumptions. We don't know. We don't know. In this story, I don't know what's in your mind. I can make up all the stories I want to, but it's a waste of time. It's not creating anything pleasant or good, because I'm probably going to get it all wrong in my head. I'm going to come up with, all the reasons why you don't like me and I should be hurt, and, I'm going to make up something that's not accurate. Asking questions, again, this is a good place to ask questions. And when you ask the questions for clarity about what's going on in someone else's mind, rather than assuming it, be prepared that you might not like the answer. That's okay too. But at least you have clarity. At least you're not making an assumption. You go back to that marriage thing. If we assume we both have the same idea about marriage, we might expect a mind reader. He should know when I need, a bubble bath. But he doesn't know that that's on my mind. He doesn't know the stressful day I've had. He can't read my mind, and I can't read his mind. We have a rude awakening and a lot of misunderstanding when we go around trying to be mind readers. If you're having challenges with this one, develop the art of asking clarifying questions. This is really good in the world we're living in, when there's so much tension and people are disagreeing. Asking clarifying questions, staying curious about the other person, staying curious. If there's someone who's got a completely opposing view to you on something, be curious about that. Ask questions about that. You may or may not like the answers, but it will give you some insight into that person rather than just assuming and making up stories. And then the last one is to always do your best. And I gotta tell you, I've been beating myself up on this one for 24 hours because I was not prepared to get up here 24 hours ago. And I felt like I wasn't doing my best. But with all that I've had going on this week, I think I did my best. I think I need to give myself grace, give myself room. In NIA, we move, it's a movement practice. And we come into the practice with the awareness of what we call our now body. This is my body now, today. It's not the same body it was a year ago. It's not the same body it was yesterday. And it's definitely not the same body it was 20 years ago. And I can't expect it to be doing the same things. That's why I'm walking in a river of water, because I can't expect it to run anymore. It's not doing that anymore. That time is past for me. Our now body and our now mind, our now emotions. And then we participate at whatever level that we're prepared to participate at. We want to participate in life. We want to participate in groups. We want to participate in relationships. And we want to do it with awareness of what's going on with us now. And we always want to act out of love and not because we should. We want to act out of love, not because we should. And actually, I wanted to read something here. We also don't want to over or underdo our best. And I thought, how could you overdo your best? Like, it seems like we're in this system where you can always do better, right? But there was a man who wanted to just transcend his suffering. So he went to a Buddhist temple to find a master to help him. He went to the master and asked, "Master, if I meditate for 4 hours a day, how long will it take me to transcend?" The master looked at him and said, "If you meditate 4 hours a day, perhaps you will transcend in 10 years. Thinking he could do better, the man then said, "Oh, master, what if I meditated 8 hours a day? How long will it take me to transcend?" The master looked at him and said, "If you meditate 8 hours a day, Perhaps you will transcend in 20 years. Why will it take longer if I meditate more? The man asked. The master replied, you are not here to sacrifice your joy or your life. You are here to live, to be happy, and to love. If you can do your best in 2 hours of meditation, but you spend 8 hours instead, you will only grow tired, miss the point, and you won't enjoy your life. Do your best, and perhaps you will learn that no matter how long you meditate, you can live, love, and be happy. And I did have this. I wanted to bring in a little bit of the biblical connection with this. I used this last part, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord. I use that a lot. I use that, it's embedded from years and years of being in churches, and it comes to me when I'm going to speak. But I never really paid attention to the verse that comes before that. Cleanse me from my hidden faults. Keep me from deliberate sins. And that's what these agreements help us to do. They help us to fulfill this verse. And we do that because we want to create a better world. We want to be, this is Charles Fillmore's favorite verse, Christ in you, the hope of glory. We want to be putting that out into the world. And he said this in Adam's Smashing Power of Mind. We must he said, we mentally agree. By mentally agreeing that we are potentially the Christ and capable of making a divine presentation of ourselves, we must rise to the conscious realization that every thought of mind, every atom of body, every molecule of being, every function of nature, and every force is divine, and that all of these do and shall vibrate to the harmonies of spirit. This is the resurrection of humankind. This is what we're after. And hopefully this has been helpful in just giving some practical tips for becoming